All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the STEM Files, where we are the voice of STEM talent and Black culture. Tonight, we're going to take a look at architectural design through the mind of a Black woman. So stay tapped in for more after this. All right. Once again, good afternoon, family. This is the STEM Files, where we are the voice of STEM talent and Black culture. I am one of your hosts, Tariq Muhammad, aka Tariq Cardiac. I'm a biomedical research scientist with a background in cardiovascular pathobiology, which is the study of how diseases form in the heart and blood vessels. I'm typically joined by my right hand, Jabril Muhammad, aka Jabril Engineer. He is a mechanical engineer for the United States Navy, where he works on naval ship fluid systems, making sure those big, pretty ships that you see out at sea function properly. He's out on vacation right now, couldn't be with us today, but he's here with us in spirit. Today's episode is at a special time of 12 noon. We are live right now with an architecture student, a very passionate architecture student, and we definitely look forward to hearing how she studies architecture and unpacks that science through the lens of a Black woman. So, without any further ado, welcome Sister Nyah Tsai to the show.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here today. Really, this is a privilege to be interviewed. I normally am the one doing interviews,
Right, right.
but now this is amazing. Architecture is something that everybody needs to know about, and in the Black community, we really don't know about it. You don't learn about it in school at all.
That's right. That's
There are
right.
countless times where I mentioned architecture, and then they were like, "What is that?" So yeah,
Wow. Right, right. And when you said you're usually the one doing the interviewing, speaking of that, we are actually live right now on National Network View, which is the platform that our sister is talking about. It's a Black-owned media outlet, and we go live on that platform every Saturday. So on we're usually live at 8 p.m. Eastern time, but today at a special time of 12 noon. But let's get right into it. I'm not, like Jabril says, it's not about us; it's about the guest. And I'm not a talker. I like to let our guests shine. So one of the first things I wanted to ask you, the show is called Architectural Design from the Mind of a Woman. And the reason I called it that is because men and women see things very differently. And that's in every facet of life. I wanted to now explore how women see architecture and architectural design. So, tell us about first and foremost, what is architecture and what are the major differences from between architecture and civil engineering?
okay, yes, sir. So architecture, if you Google architecture on what is architect, it'll tell you someone that designs structures, like someone that designs buildings. But in architecture, is someone that designs space. It's more than just a building or a specific purpose for a structure. It's more space. Like, say someone has, okay, you have 10 feet by 10 feet. What are you going to do with this? That's the architect's job to make a purpose with that space. And the key difference between a civil engineer and an architect is that a civil engineer works more with the structural part of it and the building part and figuring how the building is going to stand more, just like an architectural engineer. Now, an
Mhm.
architect does more of the designing part, but we also, still incorporate science and math. We have to do all of the measurements, make sure that it is logical, but the engineer's part is to put it all together and make it stand. So
Got
yes.
it, got it.
Now when
Okay,
it
cool.
comes to the differences between a man and a woman in design, I don't I'm not a man. I don't I'm not able to look through a man's eyes. I don't know what they see. I don't know what they think. But I know personally for myself, when I design, I make sure to think about the logical things. Like, is this logical? Will this actually work? Um, is this a structure that, could actually be useful?
Right.
And so that's what I think about when I'm designing as a woman.
Got it. Got it. So, when you mentioned that you mentioned that you're a student right now. What school do you go to right now? Where are you studying?
I go to UIC, the University of Illinois at Chicago, and I'm in the College of
Nice.
Architecture. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm in my
Awesome. Awesome.
second year, and next semester I'll be in my third year, my junior year. So after that, it's just one more year until I get my bachelor's.
Cool. Cool. Now, you mentioned that because you aren't a man, and that's obviously very clear that you cannot look at things the way they see it. So when you've worked with your classmates and some of them being men, have you seen differences in the way they put together a design or how they approach a project based on with some of your female classmates?
Um, yes, in a way, I can say that my female classmates, including myself, we think about sustainability and being eco-friendly, not damaging the environment. And some of the males designs in my class, they have designed these buildings that have so much smoke coming out of them, and just
Wow.
so many different things. And I'm like, oh my God, you all are just trying to destroy the earth.
Wow. 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 Okay.
But it's
I guess
always
that.
nice
Mhm.
having a male and female perspective on things, because a female can look at things and be like, hey, you know, this building, if it's this tall, there can't be a balcony right there. But then they might be like, I don't know, something else. But when you have the two different perspectives, you're able to work together. It's an even.
Got it. Got it. Right, right, right. What made you go into architecture? Was it your first choice? Is it something that you saw yourself doing as a child, or or was that kind of like your backup?
Okay. So I was growing up, my mother always wanted me to be an engineer, of course. You're going to be an engineer. And she put me in a whole bunch of different engineering programs every year. Every year I was in at least two different engineering programs. And I remember specifically this electrical engineering program, and I was like, this is so not for me. And so I kept trying out
Too much
different,
math.
it was, electrical engineering is so not for me. But I had to experience all these different types of engineering, and I was like, this is not what I want to do. And then in my sophomore year of high school, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a chemical engineer. And I really didn't know anything about chemistry, and I took my first chemistry class, and I was like, this is not it. I cannot do this for the rest of my life. And so I was like, okay, my last option is architectural engineering. I like that. I like architecture. I like engineering. So architectural engineering. But I then decided that the I didn't want to do the engineering part of the architecture. I just wanted
Right.
to do the
That seems to be
architecture.
the common thing. No engineering.
Stick with the design. I mean, of course, as architects, we do a lot of problem solving, but um, I know architectural engineers, they work with like the ventilation and the design of where that would go in a building, and that's just it's not for me. I'll stick with the overall design and the principle of the usage of space. Yes,
Got it. Got it. And that's interesting because when I my understanding of architecture coming from the life sciences, my understanding of architecture was more so incorporating different aspects of engineering. So when you said that you just focused on how to use space, that cleared up a whole lot of things in my head. um, you know, architecture is one of those nation building sciences. Is one of those things that is necessary and needed, extremely needed, to build a
absolutely.
nation, to build communities. Why is it important and why is it needed in the Black community specifically?
Okay, well, I'm glad you asked that question, because this is the main reason why I went into architecture, because we need architects in our
Right,
community.
right, right,
So in the Black community, we need so much, of course. We need healthcare, we need healthy foods and good teachers, we need all of that. But without architecture, there's not going to be any supermarkets or grocery stores or schools. We're not going to have a place to reside in. There's no place for you to take classes. And are you going to live outside if you don't have architecture? And pretty much that is what would happen. And
Right.
architecture is all of these different structures, like I said, the schools and then the hospitals and the banks and the stores. And in the Black community, we need it. We need houses. We need places of residence. We need schools. We need grocery stores. We need banks. We need recreational facilities, to keep our young children off the streets. We need restaurants and so many more different things. And so it is so necessary for us to have architects because as architects, we we help build communities, and in the Black community, we need a lot of building done. We need a lot of uplifting done, and we need places provided to just sit down and learn, to stay. And I feel like I'm just reiterating everything I already said, but it's just really so important to have architects and these structures, because without it, what are we going to do?
Right, right, right. How have you seen architecture influence Black life, in general? Like what are some of the things that and you already explained why we need them, but talk about the effectiveness of good architecture in the Black community. Like if you see a design that inspires someone versus if you see a design that has a negative effect on a person. Talk about those things.
Okay, so um, I'll talk about the first thing you mentioned, good architecture. Um,
Right.
Sometimes when I'm just riding down the street, I look out my window and I see it, like so many of our houses and our buildings just kind of destroyed, like just torn apart. They're missing a bunch of doors and windows broken out and all these different things. And like the exterior of the building is literally just falling apart. So with good architecture, first of all, these buildings and structures should be able to last. They
Hmm.
shouldn't be withering away in like 10 years. Absolutely not. That's not good architecture. Um, Now, something that could inspire um, the Black community by looking at architecture could possibly be the different murals on the sides of buildings, for sure. Like Black Lives Matter. I know I see murals of like Malcolm X and just inspiring things with quotes, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Um, but the overall design of architecture, I think it's just when you're in a nice and well designed space, you feel a
Right.
certain type of way. If it's nice inside, you're gonna feel better. If you
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
safe environment to learn in, like a school, if your school is run down, you may not be learning as much as you would if your school was, pristine and all of that. So I think it's just the environment that architecture can create for someone that could inspire them to be better, motivate them to do better.
Right. Right. Absolutely. We have a question from the audience. This is from my beautiful wife. All right. So she says, in the field of architecture, can you specialize in a specific niche, like large corporate buildings versus small residential homes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are different things that you could specialize, like industrial or commercial, residential. Personally, I'm just trying to learn all of it. I'm trying to learn as much as I can because
Right.
in the Nation of Islam, we need architects. So I need to be a well-rounded architect.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, but no, there's definitely specific things that you can decide to study and focus on in your career. Like at different firms, you could be hired just to work on commercial architecture,
Right. Right.
public stores.
Right, right. So majority of this conversation, we've been talking about what a nation needs and what we should be doing as a people for our communities. In Message to the Black Man, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about having enough architects and enough of the scientists and the engineers to do what we need to do for our nation. How have you been able to tap into the Black and tap into a community filled with Black architects to network with them and to build with them so that by the time you do finish school, there's I'm not going to say a place for you, but there are areas that you can grow and develop in that will simultaneously help your nation.
Right. Yes, sir. So that actually has been something that's difficult because there are not a lot of Black architects at all. I actually
Mm,
wrote some statistics down. So of the 1,116 licensed architects in the United States and its territories, just 2% are Black. And Black women represent approximately 0.4% of
wow.
architects. And so it's kind of hard to find Black architects. But I actually did find this one organization called BAM, Black Architects in the Making.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we had them on the show 2 years ago.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
wow, bring
Dr.
me some back.
Mr. Yeah, Mr. Craig Cart.
Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I want to start up a BAM in Chicago, actually. I was
Okay.
talking about that. I want to start up a BAM in Chicago so I can, find other Black architects and introduce other young students into architecture, let them know what it is, get them interested in it. But it's not that many Black architects, so it's kind of hard to find them. But once you do, you kind of stick together. Like in my school, um, we started off with 200 students for architecture. And I say we had maybe about 12 Black students, including myself. And we stuck together. We stuck together. We were like, okay, yeah, we're in this together. We got to help with each other up. We just have to work together and make it through. But yes, sir.
Gotcha, gotcha. Awesome, awesome. My one of my brother-in-laws, he's actually studying architectural engineering at Tuskegee. He's a little bit younger than you are. What would you say to a young person studying any aspect of architecture in college? What would you say to help them to keep going or to keep that passion in them so that they finish?
Okay, yes, sir. So the first thing is know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Like
Mm,
if you're passionate about architecture or anything related to if you're passionate about anything that you're in school for, then that is a driving force for you. But don't let anybody knock you down, push you down. I know sometimes we have designs. As architects, we have critiques. And so people will actually come, like professors will actually come and critique your work. And sometimes they'll be like, oh, I love this. And the other times they'll be like, this is trash. And I've heard stories of professors like knocking people's work down, and
yeah, yeah,
that's that's crazy. But even if something
ridiculous.
like that does happen, don't let them break you. Don't ever let anybody break you, no matter what you're doing. Never let anybody break you. Know what you're doing, why you're doing it. Know where you want to go, and just know how you're gonna get there. And just keep on pushing. Keep on
Right,
pushing.
right.
How you can do.
Right. And architecture falls under both the sciences and art. So you would think that whatever creativity a student presents is embraced by a teacher instead of, rejected. So that
No,
blows my mind.
no, definitely not.
Right, right, right. All right. So we have a question from Chantel Mohammed. Assalamu alaikum. Do you believe budget is a major factor as to the as to the almost non-existent of eco-friendly structures, commercial and residential in the Black community?
I do believe so that, budget is a major factor, but also, like I said it before, we don't have that many Black architects. So if we did have Black architects, we could help in our own community. Now, the majority of architects are white, and just from our past experiences and and how much they've helped us in the Black community, they haven't, been trying to make eco-friendly structures for us at all. It's kind of like where we have what we have now, and that's it. So unless some new architects come up and we rise up and we like, okay, we're going to change this in our communities, we're
Right,
going to
right.
add in some more buildings, it's going to be the same because they don't care about what's in our communities at all.
Right. And if they are doing any type of architecture or any type of significant work, it's to move their people in to dwell in them
Absolutely.
and our people out, So I grew up in Harlem. So like when I see those different those new fancy buildings in Harlem, I'm like, this wasn't here when I was a child. Why is it here now? Look at the people who are in them, So architecture is so it plays such a vital role in community development and the way we not only treat our communities, but the way we treat ourselves as a people. You know, so it's extremely important. One
As-
of the right. Where do you pull your inspiration from when you're putting together a design? Like, I know right now you're a student, and you're not really working on any big projects right now, but
That's what you think.
oh, are you okay? Well, let me. I spoke too soon. Okay, so let me save that question for later. What kind of projects are you working on right now?
Oh
That
my.
that you could see that's bigger than just being in school.
Okay. Way bigger than just being in school?
Right, just bigger than the school project. Like, is that project translating into the community directly, or like is it
Oh,
something else you're working on?
no, not like that. I thought you meant
Okay.
big projects in school. Like we
Oh
designed a
no,
state
no.
classroom. Oh no, 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 not outside of school, not yet. I'm not
Okay,
there yet.
got you. Okay, so where do you pull your inspiration from? Like, is it personal, or is it just you have to see something and kind of get inspired by it?
Um, so when it comes to my design and inspiration, initially I just try to pull from what I see outside. I do a lot of walking around or driving around, and if you ask anybody that I'm ever with, I never look straight ahead of me. I'm always like, oh, look at that window, like, oh, check this out. And that's where I get a lot of my inspiration from, honestly. I'll walk past some building and I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I'll take a picture of it on my phone. But when I Google things for inspiration, I'll Google like different cultural types of architecture. Like I'm Asian, so I'll Google different types of like Asian architecture. Like this is so cool. I'll look up different types of Egyptian architecture, and I just try to tie it all in together through my designs because I don't want to have like an Americanized design, and I
I
never
like
want to
that.
have like a cookie cutter design either.
Right.
A lot of these houses, if you go down the street, a lot of these houses are the exact same and they have nothing unique about them. And they're just a rectangle with some two rectangular windows and that's it. But that's not cool. That's
Right.
really simple and cheap and easy to make, and that's not cool. And I don't want to do that. But another inspiration is sustainability. I'm all about sustainable architecture, minimizing the impact of buildings and then, the materials used and all that. So I really get inspiration from anything, even from nature. I'll go outside and look at a tree or a flower and a leaf. And I'll be like, look at the shape of this. How can I incorporate this into my next design? It's just everything is inspirational.
Wow. So what has been your biggest, inspiration so far with whatever you design? Like what has been the most impactful inspiration that you pulled from
Okay.
for a project?
Okay. So I would say the biggest inspiration that I've had so far is just the Nation of Islam
Mm,
because I'm a registered member of the Nation of Islam. I'm all about my nation, all about our people. And
right.
I know that we need to have our own communities. We need to have our own designs. And so last year, I think maybe 1 year ago, exactly 1 year ago, um, I designed a community. It was called Amity Town, I believe. And it had like everything that you need in there. And it was sustainable, of course. It had farms, it had places of residence, it had workplaces, it had stores, it had a mosque, and it was basically like this community in this area, like basically a city, kind of. And you didn't have to leave this area to go get what you need. Like all of your food was grown directly here. Your school is right there, and it was like a boat transportation system as well. Um,
Wow.
and then the water system, like it could be used for the agriculture. Yeah.
Nice. All right, so we got a few questions from the audience.
Okay.
Um, this is from Sister Donna Muhammad. What would be your dream project to produce?
Hmm. My dream project to produce. Um, I'm not quite sure. I'm just eager to produce something, something for real. Um, but I guess I would love to produce a mosque. That would
Mm,
be extremely cool to me because I love the dome. I love domes and dome
yeah.
structure and just the way you use the space, like the interior of the mosque. Um, it has to be evenly spaced out, and it has to create like a specific effect. You have to feel a certain type of way when you're in that mosque. And so that's one thing I love about architecture. You get to, based off of your design, that's the emotions that people are going to feel in there. So
That's right.
I'm super
That's
excited.
right. Yeah, it's so refreshing to see a dome design, especially like Mos Mariam, to see a
Hmm.
dome design in the middle of an urban city like Chicago. That to me is just incredible. And driving by that alone inspires you, makes you want to go inside. So that's pretty cool. All right, so we have another question. This is from Romaine Wait. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right. How do you think tiny houses and sustainable design will reshape cities as new designs reach cities?
Hmm. So I know a lot of architects now are getting into tiny houses and these sustainable designs. Um, I don't think much is going to change in the city as of now, like in the next 50 years, but because the cities are jam packed with buildings, there's no room to make an addition to anything unless they tear something down. But I feel like in the outside of the city, even in areas that are kind of urban, um, I feel like they kind of are taking over. They're taking over, which is good. Tiny houses are cool. Some people, tiny houses are too tiny for them.
Yeah, see, I'm 6'5", 220, so I can step over a tiny house. I can't do nothing with that.
Yeah. See, tiny houses are cool, but I don't know if I'd want to be in something so tiny. But sustainable
That's a negative.
designs, I could definitely think about that. I know I got super interested in them, like earth ships and dome houses. I absolutely love dome houses. And they will take over, but you got to know like how like what they are, how to build them, how much it costs. And so it's a lot of research that will go into that. Because in some areas, some of them are made with clay, and some areas you don't have access to like the right clay. And in different areas, it may be different weather conditions that wouldn't work for another area. So it's just a lot of research that has to be done. But I do believe that they will be taking over soon. So in the next
Right,
100.
right, right.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm actually attracted to container homes and building things with those. Those have I've actually done a lot of work in designing a few container homes and some of the floor plans that go with along with it. And you
Mm,
actually have a architect that specializes in developing container homes to even do a floor plan for it.
right.
So you can't just have like the average architect for a container home. You actually have to have a architect that knows containers and how to make them, how to bring them together, and so forth. So
Right.
that's yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's see, we got another question from the audience. Sister Donna again. What makes you draw to container homes? Oh, that's I guess that's for me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, container homes. I don't know. It's just a faster way to build. It's quicker. It's eco-friendly. It's sustainable. It's not you know a tiny house. You can make a mansion with container homes. It's just like the quick pace to it. I like that industrial vibe to it. That's pretty much it. Yes, for you. All right, cool. So my next question is, we talked about Mas Mariam, we talked about building for our nation. How has the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan influenced your study of architecture?
Okay. So, um, I actually told him what my major was.
Hmm.
I told him that, I was in school for architecture, and he told me to stay my course. So that definitely influences what I'm doing. There's no backing
Right. That's
out
all
now.
it takes.
There's no backing out now. But
Right.
on his Twitter, he posted a while back that Black people were born builders. We are the architects of civilization. And he said, "What are we building today?" And that's something that, I always thought about. We are the architects of civilization. First of
That's
all,
right.
be, before we even think about going back to Africa before slavery, here, here we built everything, and I'm sure we designed it as well.
Hmm.
So we once had this knowledge of building and designing, and we just don't have it anymore. We just don't have it, and that sparked something in me because as an architect, I have the ability to design anything, and we are the architects of civilization, and so there's just so much that we can do um, for our people and our community, and that's the reason why I also chose architecture because I was like, we need this in our community. And I know everybody, they want to help in some way. I want to help my people, of course. A lot of other people want to help their people. And there's more than you can do than just nursing or being a doctor. I'm
Right.
gonna help my people by providing them with something that they can live in, you know? So
That's
he
right.
definitely influenced me for sure. A major influence.
Absolutely. Awesome. Awesome. Same here. Definitely same here. You know, just I remember one time I had tweeted him about what I wanted to do in my life, and he responded back, to that tweet. And I almost forgot about the tweet up until like last year because it was so long. I think it was like maybe 2011, 2012. And maybe I was maybe like a junior or sophomore in high school, one of those. And, to have him, what the nation building sciences and the
Hmm.
nation building skills are. Like he himself doesn't have to directly tell you, but when he does say it, it's just an added push, an added lift to get you to where you need to be. So I definitely bear witness to having that added verbal support directly from the minister. So that's an incredible feeling.
Hmm.
Um, we are actually at the halfway point of the show, and at this point of the show, we like to promote a Black-owned business. And today's Black-owned business is, of course, going to be the Final Call newspaper. This week, the Final Call newspaper paid tribute to the life and legacy of our brother DMX. May Allah forever be pleased with him and grant his family peace during this time. If you'd like to subscribe to the Final Call newspaper, just visit the website, finalcalldigital.com. New issue every week, so stay tapped into that. I think we have another question. I know this is just a statement from Sister Kiera. Yes, ma'am. Architectures are needed in every facet of the nation building techniques. The architect designs the building that the physicians and the other healthcare workers work within.
Hmm.
So, Kiara and myself, we are striving to become physicians. Right now, we work in the sciences, but our ultimate goal is to develop healthcare systems for our people. And we can't, like you said in the beginning, we can't develop anything without the physical infrastructure. So it's important that we work together, and that's why I love the Nine Ministries, because the Nine Ministries helps us work together in whatever fields or endeavors that we're involved in. So my question for you, how do you see yourself engaging in the Nine Ministries, and do you have any goals as it relates to developing the Nine Ministries to a fully functioning uh,
Hmm.
system?
Okay. Um, okay. So, besides architecture, I'm very into agriculture. I actually have my own farming business. So I'm
Nice.
definitely involved in the Ministry of Agriculture, but I guess I just want to help out wherever I can. I don't have a specific mission, but I just want to, learn now so that I can um, provide my knowledge and my work so that we can evolve and, build ourselves up into something so much bigger. But yeah, I don't have a specific goal with it. I'm just learning now so my services can be provided later on. A couple years down the line, I'll just be able to help us with absolutely anything that we need help with, whether it be like, I don't know, just building new mosques or study groups in different places, or designing something architectural and agricultural that work together,
Right,
or
right.
different. like houses and communities, because I know we wanted to turn the community around Mas Mariam, the neighborhood, just like into a Muslim community. And
Right.
I'll be able to do that. I'll be able to help with those designs. I'll be able to create those designs, inshallah.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and the Ministry of Science and Technology, that's a ministry I'm heavily involved in. So if there's, work there's work to be done in that ministry. Architecture is definitely one of them. So we definitely look forward to that. Now we have a question from Khalida, Sister Khalida. When we open up, where would you like to travel to study architecture abroad?
Egypt. I want to go to
Nice.
Cairo, Egypt. I want to see those pyramids. I'm I'm so obsessed with pyramids. It's probably not good. And I want to know
That's
this.
great.
I know, but I'm obsessed with finding the secret to pyramids. But
Mm.
even if I did find it, I can't share it. So that, but no, I definitely want to visit those pyramids and see it. Oh my gosh, they've been standing for so long,
Yeah.
and it's just so much to learn from it. Just visiting it, so much to learn from it.
Right.
But there's actually a couple different places I want to visit. I want to go to Asia, of course.
Hmm.
Multiple different places in Asia. Um, my family's from Taiwan. I would love to go to Taiwan and Taipei, which is the capital of Taiwan, to just see the different architecture there. Because around the world, architecture is different. It's not like what you see here at all.
Right. Right.
The roofs are different, the roofs of the houses, just the way that the city blocks work are different. And I just want to learn so much about different cultures, architecture, and ways of life. So I just want to travel.
Awesome, awesome. I feel you on the pyramids though, because that we built them, so I'm sure that it's definitely something that you could find out just based on your what you've learned as an architect. So it's definitely not impossible, and you have the tools necessary to figure it out. We have another question from Sister Shahida Muhammad. How does color influence your designs?
Okay, color. That's a good question. So, color colors emit different emotions. Like colors can make you feel different ways. Um, each color represents something else. Like green represents the earth, and they also kind of correlate with your chakras. So
Right.
if I'm in um, like a purple room, that's like my crown chakra, and so it'll just make me feel a different type of way than me being in like a turquoise room, like a blue room, which would be my throat chakra.
Hmm.
And so like if I was in a brown room, I'd probably feel like more grounded, like a more grounded person. So the colors of the walls, the colors of the rooms you're in definitely influences the feelings. So like if I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but like in schools, like even in Muhammad University of Islam, the the color of the walls are like pale white or like cream or something like that. So it
Hmm.
kind of like influence, different thinking because in school, you don't want to make someone feel a specific type of way. You want
Right.
you want them to feel their own way and if they have any ideas, you want to spark creativity. But color definitely plays a big role in everything. I remember seeing this one design of like a hospital, I believe it was. It probably wasn't a hospital, but it looked like a hospital. And in the interior, they just had like these colorful different shapes on the walls and on the grounds and like these colorful different furniture to kind of like bring the mood up and uplift the mood because it's a hospital. A lot of wrong things can go in a hospital. So
Right.
colors
Right.
can make you feel better, definitely. They influence your emotions for sure.
Got you. Got you. We have a comment from Callie Muhammad saying we Mother Tanetta and herself went to study the pyramids. So I think speaking of Mother Tanetta, she's very her studies have been very influential when it comes to color and medicine. And I believe the third one is music, is color, medicine, and I forget the third one. But how has her teaching and how has her understanding of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad helped you understand architecture?
Hmm. Well, I absolutely love Mother Tanetta. It was like a couple months ago. I was just all I was listening to was Mother Tanetta, and she was talking about architecture. Actually, she was talking about the pyramids, and it's just she was talking about crystals and some way the crystals were used pyramids, and I was just like, what? I don't even know if I'm correct because she's just the way she speaks is just so advanced. You know, you have to be there to understand
Right,
what she's saying.
right.
You have to be there mentally to be able to
Yeah.
comprehend what she's saying. But what I took away from it at least was just amazing, and I was learning so much. You know, she wasn't an architect, like what I'm going to school for, but her knowledge and understanding of what she knew in different materials, I'm able to learn something from it. So it was it was absolutely amazing. I don't remember the name of it, but if I remember it, I'll definitely let you know what it was called.
Got it, got it. Okay. We have quite a few questions, but at this time I want to do a segment called an Instagram tap in. So it's pretty much pulling up a picture from your Instagram page and you telling us more about that picture or what's going on in that picture. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Cool, cool. So we have a picture here. So what's going on in this particular picture right here?
Okay, so this is my first year. Um, this is my first year.
I should
Yes.
have made it bigger for you to see more of it.
No, no, that's
I
okay. I should
apologize.
know what my pictures are. I should. But I was definitely presenting something. I remember this day. I took an Uber to school. I was late as well. But my Uber driver asked me if I was a professor at my school because I had that red blazer on and I had a red briefcase.
Oh wow.
But in this picture, I was presenting a design that I made of a space made up of different spaces in the architecture building. So when we have a building designated specifically for architecture at my school, and so the first thing we did when we got there, I believe we measured each room. We were split up into groups and we measured each room of the building, and then we had to share the measurements with each other. And with those measurements of the different rooms, we were supposed to create like a large floor that all of these rooms were on. And so that's what I was presenting in this picture. We were given a specific amount of space and then we had to incorporate maybe about like 6 different rooms in there, see what we could do. And this is around
Wow.
this time we were learning about what poche is.
Hmm.
Um, I guess I should explain what poche is. Poche
Yeah.
is the black that you see by my hand. My hand is like over the plan. Poche
Hmm.
is the black that fills in like the negative space. So the space that you won't, like you won't be using, like that space could be a wall. You won't be able to be in that space. You're not going to be in the wall. So the black space, I mean, the black poche fills in that negative space. So yeah, that's what I was presenting. Oh,
Got
actually,
it.
now that I'm looking closer, I see my model down at the bottom. So in that case, then that was just one part that led to this model. So that model, this was my midterm then. This was a
Wow.
stair model. No, I'm sorry, this was a wall model. So we um we measured the walls and like the spaces in the architecture building, and then from that we were able to design like our own walls and our own columns, and we had to use poche on the top of them, of course, and we just had to create a different space inside of that space. And so I made some of my columns like shorter and taller. Some of them were so short, you could sit on them. Some of them were so tall you could lean on them, like just different different things. With walls and columns, you can close off spaces, you can create more spaces, you can create hallways. It's just so much you can do.
Nice, nice. Okay. Cool, cool. Well, that's the Instagram tap in session for today's episode. One of the as we approach the end of the show, one of the last things I wanted to ask you was when we look at science, in our general public. or just in the community, you know, among our people or just among everyone. What is the biggest takeaway that you see in terms of how our people internalize or embrace architecture? Like what is the what are those key things that our people get most from architecture?
Hmm. Okay. So I can say that if when it comes to architecture, if something is there, if it's there, our people will use it. We will use
Right.
it for anything, even if it's not for its designated purpose, we will use it. And so, like, even when it comes to just basketball courts or like different spaces left open on like a block, we will use that space. And so I think it's important to have the I think it's important to have, the right things so that our people will be able to actually use it in a progressive way. To use it for like a learning space, or like a learning
Hmm.
environment, take something away from it. I don't know if that answers your question at all.
It
I'm
does.
not
It
sure.
definitely did.
Okay, good,
Absolutely. All
good.
right. We have a few more questions from our audience.
Okay.
Let's see. This one is from Arvind Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. What do you think your role is in the field of architecture, as far as anything you can bring from yourself to the world that will inspire and influence future generations after you?
Okay. So I can say to that my role in the field of architecture, what can I bring from myself is a broad perspective. I have a pretty diverse mind, I'd like to think. When it comes to architecture, I don't just stick with the types of architecture we have here. I use my resources and I gain different things from different cultures, try to merge that all together. So overall, I think I'm able to offer diverse architecture and diverse like meaning, like multicultural spaces that everybody feels comfortable and it's not leaning toward specifically Mexican people or something like that. Like it'll be for everybody. It'll tie everybody all in together, which is essentially my goal anyways, to just bring everybody together. But yeah, I think I'm able to offer that diverse mindset because I work with well, I have friends and I also work with people of different backgrounds and I just learn so much from them. And for what I learn, I just have to make sure that, I apply it to my architecture. So,
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, and we have another question from Romaine Waite again. Do you think the shapes of rooms will change with building techniques and the emotion structures are meant to excite from rectangular excite from rectangular towards shapes such as triangles, hexagons, and more irregular lines generally?
um, I do believe so over the time, but it's really up to the architect and who you hire as an architect because well, I can't even say that. It's based on whoever's hiring the architect. If they want a unique design, then the architect will have, some freeway and some leisure to create a unique design. But sometimes they're just like, I want this. I want an apartment building. I want a 3-story apartment building. And I just want it to be as simple as possible. And so I guess it's really up to whoever is hiring the architect. Um, Now, when it comes to the shapes of rooms being different shapes, such as like triangles, that is something an architect would definitely have to think about because if you're in a house, if you're in a square house, it would be easy to fit, 4 triangles into that house, evenly shaped. But if it's like a rectangle house or like a house that goes like this, like an L-shaped house, you have to figure out how all of these different shaped rooms could fit together and there's not too much negative space. Because in your house, I mean, at least I would hope that you would want to use as much space as you have.
Hmm.
Um, but if the rooms are shaped a different way, like this is one room right here and this is one room right here, you still have this space that needs to be used. So it's just a lot of thinking that goes on, a lot of designing and designs can take years. So, but no, it'll definitely happen. It'll definitely happen in the future.
And you're making me think about the way floor plans look and the way a house looks in general so
Yes,
much
sir.
differently now. Like I can't begin to tell you how much wasteful space I've seen in a house. You know, there may be just like this random block or random like block of cement just sitting there in the corner of a room, just like, but for what?
Yeah.
You know, so it is you definitely gave me a different way of looking at things. Our next question is from Anzania Intuition. What are your favorite materials you use to balance energy in the spaces you design?
Um, okay, what are my favorite materials I use to balance energy in the spaces I design? So I haven't really focused much on materials yet. Um, yeah, I haven't really focused on materials yet so far. Maybe we'll work more on that next year. Right now, I am working with some materials. I'm working with bamboo and sheet metal, and I'm building a structure. That's my final. I've been working on this for months.
That was sheet metal.
But
Okay,
um, yeah, I haven't really focused on many materials. But if I were to use something to balance the energy of the place, um, I would definitely incorporate some crystals somewhere for sure.
got it, got it.
Help balance all sorts of different energies. Definitely incorporate
Yes,
crystals. But that's a good question. I have to think more about that.
yeah. And Jabril would like that question too because even though he works as a mechanical engineer for the Navy, his training and background is in materials engineering. You
Oh,
know, so he used at one point was testing the strength of certain types of materials, and then he went on to do the fluid systems and different mechanics behind that. You know, so he would definitely enjoy this show. He actually has a mentee who is interested in architecture, so this show is going to be a lifesaver, not just inspiration wise, but for those who are interested in studying it academically. You know, so
right.
it's this is going to be one of those shows that gives birth to that next generation of architects.
Yes, sir.
And so you spoke on homes. Okay, so this one is from Sister Chantel. You spoke on homes in the United States looking like one another. What are your thoughts about having a signature design? Example, like Frank Lloyd Wright. And I don't know who Frank Lloyd Wright is, but
Uh,
maybe you know who that is.
yeah, Frank Lloyd Wright is a very famous architect. He
Mhm,
has a lot of houses in Chicago up north over there. Um, but signature designs are cool. Like if each specific architecture, because an architect only designs like a certain amount of structures in their lifetime. But if
mhm.
each architect had their own way of design, that would be pretty cool. All of the houses next to each other wouldn't be the same. They wouldn't be cookie cutter. So that'd be pretty cool. Frank Lloyd Wright, he does like have like a signature style, but all of his designs are a bit different. I visited some of his houses and they are different. Like they kind of follow like his same idea, like his same mindset, but they really are different. But it's super cool just to see um like how this one man changed from this to this to this and just incorporated his many different ideas. It's very interesting.
Is it bad that I didn't know who that was?
No, it's not bad at
Okay,
all.
cool, cool, cool. Just making sure because
It's
like
not
a lot
bad.
of people are like, he's a famous architect. I'm like, I'm gonna let her answer that. Tell us who that is. But yeah, that's a great question. Like you definitely have uh the passion to definitely make your own designs and just based off your personality. And if I would have the chance to work with you, I could definitely see a design and driving down the street and be like, oh yeah, that's Sister Nyah. You know, that's definitely one of
Yeah.
her designs. But this is it. You know, that's definitely the end of the STEM files. We try to keep it at an hour. We don't believe in 4 hour long podcasts. That's just not something we into. But we definitely look forward to having you back for a part two. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the audience before you leave, especially as it relates to architecture?
Okay, yeah. So educate yourself and your children on architecture, what an architect is, what an architect does. Because we need architects. We need many more architects. So just just teach them. And if it's something they're interested in, send them my way, and I'll have a conversation with them.
Excellent, excellent.
But
Now,
yeah,
mhm. You said send them your way. So how can we contact you?
through my Instagram, of course, which is XXNYAHHAYNXX. You can you can go ahead and DM me on there, but my email is also right there. If you wanted to email me, I'll I'll try to respond. I'm not the best at responding to emails, but I'll probably respond on Instagram faster. But definitely reach
Got it,
out to
got
me
it.
if you have any questions.
Okay. Awesome, awesome. And for those who would like to stay tapped into more STEM Files content, definitely follow us on all our social media platforms. Uh, Facebook, The STEM Files, YouTube, The STEM Files, and Instagram and Twitter is at The STEM Files. Jabrayan Engineer, Tariq Cardiac, we are the voice of STEM talent and Black culture. What does that mean? We highlight the best and brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in the Black community. We are live every Thursday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, unless announced otherwise. So, thank you all for tuning in. And we look forward to seeing you back for next Thursday's episode, which will feature Mr. Dre Taylor. He just received a United States patent for the development of an agricultural processing system that he's been working on. And he's going to talk to us about the patent journey, like what it takes to file for a patent, what a patent should look like, the rejection process, the whole nine. And he's also going to be talking about his business in agriculture. Speaking of business in agriculture, Sister Nyah, you said you have a farming business. Can you tell us more about that?
Okay, yeah, so this is our first year. We're still working on it for sure, but we just created our Instagram page, which is e.produce. Instead of an E, it's a three. But yes, it's called Eternally Embracing Earth, short for e-produce, short into e-produce. My business partner and I, we have some land and we are growing vegetables and fruits, and we'll be selling fresh produce because I know we need that in our communities. We don't have access to a lot
Yes.
of fresh food at all. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
So you tapped in with the big two A's, the architecture and agriculture. So
Yes.
that's man, it's so much to unpack, so we got to bring you back to the show. And for those who are wondering how the STEM Files came about, we are the media arm to our research and development company, Original Man Scientific. We have a brand new website, straight to the point, scienceByOMS.com. Once again, that's scienceByOMS.com. It's a Black-owned research and development the company designed to foster invention and innovation in the Black community to bring out that creative mind uh, and so much more. So definitely tap in scienceByOMS.com. And once again, this has been the STEM Files, the voice of STEM talent and Black culture. See y'all next Thursday. Peace.